In Japan, geta are a traditional form of wooden footwear. Geta suggest informality, hot weather, and seasonal fashion. But for the imprisoned people, geta took on a very different meaning. This is an essay about geta by Bunichi Kagawa, an immigrant writer at Manzanar. I remember everybody was actively participating in making geta soon after we were incarcerated in the camp. Older people were wearing geta, women were wearing geta, and children too were wearing geta. We even saw a toddler who had just learned to walk wearing a cute pair of geta as tiny as a pea. Here is Tomiko Kawasaki's tanka poem about geta.
よい早く母に沿われて風呂に行く幼子の下駄赤く目にしむ
There was not a dime's worth of difference between the various camps, where all we could find was sand, cactus, and sagebrush. Manzanar, where we were first sent, was located in the middle of such a desert. When we were walking to the communal bath, the condition of the street was so horrible that our feet were quickly covered with sand. Since we were wearing the slippers which we had hastily packed in our luggage, it was as if we were scooping sand with our slippers. We were sick and tired of the sand. This might be the main reason that making geta became popular throughout camp. Nobody really knows who started it. I am not good with my hands, but even I picked up a piece of scrap wood, borrowed a saw and hand drill, and managed to create a pair. People started to put in a great deal of creative ingenuity. As a result, geta even appeared in an arts and crafts exhibition. And yet, its humble origin was its utility in camp life. I experienced the strange feeling that I became Japanese for the first time after I started to wear a pair of geta. Incarcerated in the camp and unloading our luggage in the assigned barrack, each of our lives started from the very evening of the day of our arrival. However, our minds were strangely hazy for a while, and I was unable to recognize who I really was no matter how hard I tried. In reality, we had just lost our homes. We had been stripped bare of our savings and property. Many of us were separated from our families, and we had no idea where our friends were. With the chaos that the war had brought, we were thrown into such a state of confusion and anxiety that we did not have any idea about what we were doing. In the end, ID tags dangling from our collars as if we were lost children, we held as much hastily packed luggage as possible in our hands. Seeing the eerie glitter of the bayonets held by the soldiers who were supposedly protecting us, we were crammed into buses and trains in the rain, and were sent to far, unknown places which turned out to be in the middle of the desert where we had nothing to hang on to. We wondered what would happen to us. We had the gloomy feeling that we had lost our way toward the future. It seemed to me that geta brought us out of our state of stupor. We felt tremendous familiarity and intimacy toward geta, which we wore for the first time since we had arrived in the U.S. How consoling that comfortable touch felt when our bare feet slipped into geta. It was the simplicity and subtle warmth emitted from geta which reminded me of the fields and mountains back home. I cannot count the number of times in the summer evenings when I looked up at the cloud-covered tops of the majestic Sierra Nevada while I was heading to the bath with geta on, towel hanging from my shoulder. At times I could hear the sweet, sour sounds of a shamisen pouring from a barrack somewhere and disappearing into the sand. The closeness we felt because all of us were wearing geta naturally made us realize that we were all Japanese who were placed under the exact same circumstances, and therefore all of us had to console and encourage each other in our lives from now on. Little by little, we calmed ourselves down. Slowly but surely, harshness lost its edge. Movies were shown, and a talent show was held. Under the cool, starry night, there was an outdoor music concert. Children started to play baseball. By that time, school was built. Buddhist church was built. And so was the Christian church. The standard of living in the camp had reached this level because each one of us was able to recognize who we really were again. Putting aside our circumstances as enemy aliens in time of war, we put our utmost effort into reconstructing our lives. What we managed to gather by our mere hands and feet permeated the landscape of our lives. Geta, in essence, bestowed us with an amicable and encouraging power. It has been 3 years since our life in camp began. Meanwhile, we have experienced so many incidents and troubles regarding registration, loyalty, the draft, and segregation, among other problems. I cannot help but miss the early days of Geta. I wish various things had been carried out under more amicable feelings as Japanese. That harmonious feeling would have produced more understanding and empathy toward each other, and we could have been able to encourage each other. It was not necessarily an impossible dream. Without realizing it, we had slowly distanced ourselves from the feeling of Geta. When it comes to the feeling of Geta, there was no distinction between the old and the child, nor was there between the Issei and Nisei.